Alrighty, YouTube, welcome back. We're going to be doing another Tech Talk today. A lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of stuff. So today we're looking at, not that actually, we haven't done a Tech Talk in a long time, been kind of busy with that. Been meaning to come back to it. Interested in a new phone, so we're going to be talking new phones. It's kind of a new phone day. Well, let's start with the Microsoft Hololens. If you haven't seen recently, Microsoft did their event in middle of July where they released Windows 10, and Windows 10 works perfectly. I have a wonderful computer over here, an older laptop that's only like dual core. It's got like 2 gigs of RAM in it. Runs Windows 10 absolutely perfect. Use it all the time. But Microsoft HoloLens really upped the ante for virtual reality and what you can do with that, and they blew everybody's minds, I think, with their new HoloLens technology. Now they've got this, you wear this really goofy headset and you have all these apps, and it's like literally a computer that you can just wear, and it, apparently it creates this huge interface in front of you that works just like a computer. Now they don't say if it's Windows 10 or not. You got this lady over here that's just, editing a motorcycle or something like that. Who knows how far that technology will go. I mean, this guy's cooking with it or something like that with a, house he wish he could afford. And that's fine. And, oh, yeah, let's play Minecraft on HoloLens. Who knows how much that's going to cost. So I think it's really wonderful technology, and I think I'm very excited for it, but Microsoft is just so far ahead with it right now. How much is it going to cost? Is it going to cost me $10,000? Is it going to cost me $5,000? Or is it going to be something that's a little bit more affordable, like the Oculus? Is it? How far can you go with the technology? So Microsoft blew our minds, and that's great. And I love when companies really further technology. But the big question is, how much? And how far did you go? And how far can I go with that technology? So that's Microsoft HoloLens. I'm definitely keeping an eye on for it. I got the latest updates and stuff going on for it. Windows 10, which apparently it may or may not use. I've been testing that recently, and that's been wonderful for me. I think even here on my main battle station, I have not upgraded to Windows 8 or Windows 8.1 for that matter. It's an okay software, but Windows 7 is still the best of the best, I think. But Windows 10, I think Windows 10, which is what I'm playing around with over here, I think that might actually be the operating system that makes me, rebuild this main battle station here. All right, next we're moving on. Today is March 1st. You can't see it because my little picture of myself is in my way, but the Nexus 6 was released today, and the Nexus 6 Edge. Now, there was a lot of speculation, obviously. There's, it's going to have this and it's going to have that. And, most of the specs were leaked ahead of time. I'm not impressed with the edge that they have. It's a phone. This is pictured here. On the side here, it's kind of a fall-off edge to their phone where you can touch it, and it has apps and other things like that in there. But it's just kind of a trail edge screen that's rounded, so that they have a couple extra apps and stuff in there that you can use. I think that's absolutely stupid. If you actually have, go ahead, like this video or dislike it. Actually, dislike the video. If you actually have a Galaxy Edge device, they have the Note Edge right now, and they have the Galaxy S6 Edge. I think it's horrible. I think it's absolutely stupid. But I think Samsung is a little bit desperate to make up ground against Apple, and it's this constant war, and this is, some innovation that they pulled out of nowhere to bridge the gap. Pardon me, I like to drink when we do Tech Talks today. I'm drinking Great Lakes, local company, brewery. Burning River, absolutely delicious. I don't know if they actually ship Great Lakes worldwide or even nationally here in the United States, but wonderful beer. But the Galaxy S6, it's something that I was interested in. Not the Edge. I don't care about the Edge. I think that's stupid, as you've known. But the Galaxy S6, I think that was very generally interesting. They had all these specs. It's going to be octa-core. It's going to be, 5.5 inches, 20 megapixel camera. And they were close on quite a few of the specs. 3 gigs of RAM, which is fine. 5.1 inch quad HD screen, that's fine. Most of the Samsung and top end phones are starting to go quad HD. 3 gigs of RAM, that's fine. Would I like to have seen 3.5 or 4? Sure, but 3 is fine in a small phone like that. It uses Qualcomm's Snapdragon 810, which is a octa-core. Now we'll notice the air quotes, octa-core. It's not actually octa-core, it's quad-core, but each of those 4 cores hyper-thread. So it can be an octa-core, which is fine. You know, I've shopped around for a lot of phones nowadays on websites like Geek Buying and other, Chinese-based shopping sites, and octa-core phones have been around for a long time, but here in the United States, they like to release that technology slowly. They want you to buy a new iPhone every year. They want you to buy a new Samsung phone every year or every 2 years, and that's why they do it. So they've been releasing the technology very slowly, and that's fine. The specs on the inside are good. It's what we were expecting. The looks are fine. Over here you see, let's see if I can get some pictures. Right here we have the flash. It's disappointing that they keep moving the flash. In the Galaxy S3, the flash was up here on top. Then on the Galaxy S4, the flash was down here on the bottom. Then I think on the Galaxy S5 and S6, the flash was like over here on the side, and it's very weird. So they keep moving the flash around, and it's got different sensors and maybe a different camera in there so it can take full 3D photos. But, it looks very iPhone-ish. And I think I called this, I think, maybe I haven't mentioned it in a Tech Talk, but I've been talking to other colleagues about this. Apple wants Android's customers. So Apple is slowly moving in the direction of Android in terms of software. Apple, I'll give it to them, they build absolutely beautiful phones, but I hate their software. Because it's very limiting. It's this Apple bubble, and you can only function in the bubble. Android's it's a wide open field of what you can do whatever you want, but their phones are ugly. Apple makes beautiful phones, so they're slowly moving in the direction of Android. Android, on the other hand, they have a lot of the market, but Samsung and HTC and other things, they want Apple's customers, so they're starting to move in the direction of Apple. Case in point right here. Oh my gosh, look at the bottom of this phone. First of all, it's Gorilla Glass on the back. So not only can you crack the back of your phone, but you can crack the front of your phone. So it's like, why would you put glass on the back? Honestly, do metal. Fine, copy Apple if you want, but, make it metal. I like that there's metal. I hate my Samsung Galaxy S4. It's horrible. It's plastic on the side. It's this metal-looking plastic, but it's still plastic. It's horrible. I'm looking to replace it. I hate Samsung software. I use my own custom operating system, and I can't wait to get rid of it. So that's something we'll be touching on today, because we're looking at a lot of phones, and it's March 1st, and we've got a lot of phones that are coming out. So Samsung and the S6 I've been very, very disappointed in, because they've underperformed on their specs. 16 megapixel camera. They've underperformed on battery. It has a 2550 milliamp hour battery, but it has these out of the world specs. Octa-core, it's got the new Super AMOLED Quad HD display, it's got all this processor, all this extra RAM, but it has a smaller battery than their 2-year-ago phone. That blows my mind. Battery life is going to be absolutely horrible, and nothing is more important than battery life nowadays. So Apple's moving in Android's direction. Android is moving in Apple's direction. I unfortunately think Android is not winning the battle. Apple is winning the battle. Their software is good, and they build a beautiful phone. I almost want to go the Apple route, but I know that will absolutely be a mistake. So I would also love a OnePlus One. OnePlus One, I think, is an absolutely fantastic phone. I think they're a good company. I think they have a couple mistakes and hurdles that they have to overcome with being a startup company. But my only problem is it only works on AT&T and T-Mobile. T-Mobile is horrible around here in terms of service in Ohio. And AT&T is very, very expensive, and I don't know if I want to pay that kind of money for AT&T's service. So I am a Sprint user. I think Sprint is the best deal around. So I am torn between the Galaxy Note 4, because I love my Samsung watch. and I don't know if I want to get rid of that. And I'm torn between the Nexus 6. The Nexus 6 is beautiful. It is stock Android. It's not filled with bloatware, but it's big. It is 6 inches. I mean, you know, this is 5 inches on a phone, and this is Nexus's tablet, which is 7 inches. So it's somewhere in between here. And I've held it a couple times and played around with it, and it is a massive phone. But everybody's got to make sacrifices. So we're moving on. Galaxy S6, very disappointed with. But let me know. Let me know your opinion. I want to argue with people. I want to start a conversation here. I've had a couple too many beers, so let's talk about it. What do you think about the Galaxy S6? What do you think about the Nexus 6? Do you own a Nexus 6? Let me know. I want your opinions. I do these tech talks to start conversation. Next, we have HTC Vive, high-end VR headset being made with Valve's help. Valve, wonderful company, as we all know. Hail Gaiman, praise Gaiman, PC Master Race, all that good stuff. I think everybody's jumping on the bandwagon now with VR. Razer at CES, Samsung with their VR, which we'll talk about in a little minute here. Everybody's jumping on the VR market. I am so excited for it. I've been on the list. I am dying to get an Oculus Rift to use here, and you know, I think that virtual reality is absolutely fantastic, and I'm excited to experiment with the software, but I don't think that anybody can beat Oculus just yet. Excuse me for a second. Very excited for it. So. I got a birthday coming up. Maybe that's what I'll get for my birthday, an Oculus. Next, another bandwagon that everybody's jumping on. Highway. It's not High. Is it Highway? I think it's pronounced Highway. Very odd pronounced company. They unveiled their first Android Wear smartwatch. That's fine. Everybody's jumping on that bandwagon. LG, HTC, Samsung, Apple iWatch. Everybody's on the bandwagon. I love Samsung, I think, does wearables absolutely fantastic. There's no bloatware. It uses its own custom Tizen OS. I love it. But in terms of cell phones, I think no company is worse than Samsung when it comes to bloatware, crap software that you can't remove, and especially if you have Verizon. So everybody's jumping on the smartwatch bandwagon. I think wearables are fantastic. I use my Fitbit all the time. It's wonderful. I'm not a very fitness person. I don't go to the gym regularly. I have a very active job. But I love the wearables, especially with Samsung and Fitbit. I think they do a very good job. I like to see everybody jumping into this market with wearables. But I was talking with a colleague the other day. I think wearables is a fad. It's a very niche market. If you're not a person that wears a watch, if you're not a fitness person, if you're not a very techie person, then smartwatches is definitely not something for you. So I think everybody's jumping on this bandwagon, trying to convince people to get into this wearables market, but I don't think it's practical. But Highway, if I'm pronouncing that right, has just entered the market, and that's fine. They do a pretty good job. I do like the very modern look that they've taken with this smartwatch. I think the watch is pretty tall in terms of size. I love my very, very thin Samsung device, and I wouldn't go any taller than that, which is why I haven't gotten any of the LG G watches or the Moto X or the things like that. But until people kind of slim that down, I probably won't be picking up any other watches anytime soon. But I like that people are trying to incorporate the real watch feel. Next on the list, we got SanDisk. SanDisk does a wonderful job at inexpensive storage options, and now they've crammed 200 gigabytes into a micro SD card for your phone. First off, way too expensive. It's $400. A 128 gig not SSD, but micro SD card is significantly cheaper, close to $100, and you're out 80 gigs or whatever. But with it formatted, you might be out 70 gigs. Very, very great speeds and other things like that. How many phones actually support up to 200 gigs into your phone as it is? So I like to see Samsung and these other companies like this pushing the envelope. But who knows how many months or years it will be until we can actually support 200 gigs in a phone. How many people actually have a phone and need the additional 128 gig micro SD expansion because they just fill their phone with 128 gigs of additional stuff? I don't think I've ever met anybody in my entire life, even the most techie, ridiculous, never delete a picture, never delete a photo people, that have actually consumed not only all of their internal storage, but like an extra 64 or 128 gig SD card. So I like to see that SanDisk is pushing the envelope, but it's like inventing something that nobody's going to use and nobody's going to need for the next couple of years or couple of months. Next, we're getting into the Apple iWatch. Let me give you my opinion on the Apple iWatch. I think it's junk. First of all, it's not even called the iWatch. We want to natively call it the iWatch because all of their devices are called the iThis or iThat. But, then they made the mistake and they called it the Apple Watch. I think it's very high off the wrist. I think it's a very clunky design. I like how they've gone the square route with Samsung, but they also have the round dial that's pictured here, which I think is kind of a misnomer. But the specs so far that have been, speculated, battery life is only, 4 to 6 hours. And even in low power mode, which you might double that, for example, let's say it's 12 hours, it only tells time. I can use this watch for almost 12 days, Samsung's watch for almost 12 days when it's not connected to the phone. And it, you can use apps that function on it individually, and you can get the time, and you can get a couple other things, but it'll function for almost 12 days. It'll function for 5 days when it's connected to the phone. So I think battery life is the absolute most important thing on any device nowadays. If somebody came out with this awesome new phone that has a beautiful screen and it's the absolutely most beautiful phone in the entire world, inside and out, and it had a 6-hour battery life, nobody would buy it. If it had an 8-hour battery life, nobody would buy it. But if it's average, it's like, let's say 16 to 20 hours, everybody would be all over it. Doesn't matter the price, this is the way it goes. So I think that battery life is so crucially important nowadays. It's like, don't even bother making a device if you're not going to have its acceptable battery life, or more than that. I mean, Apple, we expect a lot of things out of Apple. So, Apple has finally come back with their, we have a low power mode that only tells time that will, help the battery. Even in this article, look how small that article is. It's a paragraph, It's, it'll probably, you can't do a lot with it, but if you're, thinking about buying it, here it is. A couple comments down here. I see nothing wrong in charging your Apple Car and iPhone and Apple Watch every night of the week. The rest of the world lives. Do you? Sorry, but I would not. By the way, Apple have a super duper socket for that. Only money, money, money. So, and this other guy says, this just confirms how terrible the battery will be and will only get worse as time goes on, like other Apple devices. Apple's definitely not known for their longevity in their battery life. I'm a little disappointed, obviously, as an IT guy. I'm not a very big Apple fan, but let me know what you think. Who's actually going to get the Apple Watch? Who's really excited? Yeah, I'm going to get the Apple Watch. Let me know. Samsung. Here we go. More virtual reality. Everybody's jumping on the bandwagon. And yes, it will work with the Galaxy S6. First off, virtual reality is a very niche market. Very niche. Oculus has it hands down. I don't care who you are. If you're interested in getting into the market, or if you're in the market, Oculus has it. Nobody's going out there and buying Razer's OSVR. Nobody's going out there and buying HTC's new Valve. Nobody's going out there and doing that because Oculus has it. Oculus is the first mover. It's just like Apple. Apple does everything first. And it might be complete crap, but everybody's going to invest in it. Samsung does it, but Samsung's virtual reality only works with two phones. It works with the Samsung Galaxy S6 and the S6 Edge probably, and it works with the Note 4 and probably the Note 4 Edge. But it's like, you buy this expensive headset, which costs as much as the Oculus Rift, and then you're limited to using it exclusively with your smartphone, which is okay, but you're going to get much more application and use and other things out of that with your Oculus. I mean, come on, even look at this picture of this, Asian lady or something like that. She's using this headset. Look at the look on her face. She doesn't look impressed. She doesn't look like, oh wow, this is awesome. It's like, oh, well, that's what my phone looks like in 3D. So everybody's jumping on the bandwagon. I think there's a long way to go before consumer virtual reality, but I'm definitely interested in picking up an Oculus for myself. Next, story behind Samsung's S6 and S6 Edge departure. They've got this big story, all these parts, they pull down their parts and everything like that, and I'll summarize the article for you, which I kind of did previously. Apple is moving to Android with their software. Android is moving to Apple, but not with their software, with their hardware. So, I mean, that right there, holy crap. If I took that picture right here and I printed it out, and I printed out a similar picture of somebody in this exact same position holding an iPhone 6, how many people would actually be able to tell the difference? So it's really interesting how sides are switching. One side is going to the other to get the other customers, and the other side is going to the other side of the fence to get those people's customers. So very, very interesting. They've got a couple specs in here. Oh, Galaxy S6 is going to be the next big thing, as Samsung says. But you know what? I'm kind of fed up with it. I'm disappointed. Yes, I'm very picky as a tech guy, but I think I'm going to go the stock Android route and probably go with the Nexus 6, or if I can convince myself, the Galaxy Note 4. Either way, I'm going to get stuck with an absolutely massive phone. But last article that we have here, talking about smartphones, staying on our subject today, we've got the HTC One M9. Could be the best all-around phone of the year. HTC makes a beautiful phone, and they have for a very, very long time. Metal unibody. It's wonderful. It's curved just like the Nexus devices. I think it's very good in the hands. I think HTC does a good job at building an external enclosure. Of course, they got the stinking flash in the same place that Samsung does, and I think that's stupid. I love the Nexus 6 built-in flash ring around their thing, but just the reason why I'm staying away from HTC and Samsung is their software. They build a beautiful phone, but they cover up this wonderful stock Android with horrible HTC software and horrible Samsung bloatware. And it's horrible, and it's aggravating. And I could root the phone, and I could install, Google's Now launcher, and a Nexus launcher, and an Alpha launcher, and I could blow the whole thing out of the water and install CyanogenMod. But why do I have to do that? I don't want to have to do that. I can, but I don't want to have to do that. I want to buy a phone that has beautiful software and beautiful hardware, and I think the Nexus 6 is really the only place that I can get that nowadays. HTC is fine. I used to have an HTC before I had my Samsung device, but I just continue moving on because bloatware, crapware, covering up this beautiful Android software with something like this. Now, the HTC M1 Google Play Edition was absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, that was too old of a phone. If they do an HTC One M9 Google Play Edition, maybe I'll consider it. But I haven't heard anything about that yet, and I need to get rid of this junk Samsung Galaxy S4. So right now it's between the Note 4 and the Nexus 6. So let me know. Please give me your opinion. I appreciate it, guys. Let me know what you think. I'm going to try to do a couple more tech talks recently. I definitely check the tech news every day, but it's nothing really riveting. It's nothing, mind-blowing. It's nothing new technology. It's kind of the old, same old, same old. So I'm sorry I haven't done a tech talk in a while. I'm trying to save it for a good day like this. So I hope we've caught up on some of the tech news. Let me know what you think, and we will see you in the next one, guys. Thank you.